Hello everyone and welcome to this little speed compare. We look what is the speed difference between male and female, also if there's a speed difference in size, and we also compare the speed of the Dex attribute. So we first start with our Veela. We test the Veela first, of course, and we have a 130 Dex and the height of 160. Or how we say in German, I show you how the bunny runs. Oh man, what a sexy bunny. So here we have the character in game. We have 130 dex, we have 160 centimeters height. All characters start at the same spot, exactly with the tip of the toe where the flower ends. So yeah, it's the perfect marking. Now we run, and the timer starts with the first frame moving. No, it's not a frame-based timer. And we measure it with 100% skill for sprinting, breathing technique, sprinting, athletics, and so on. And let's see what we got here. It ends with the frame, so the total time was 18 seconds. We compare this later. And now the exact same Veela with the same skills, of course, and the same dex without the Clade gifts, of course. Also the first one without the Clade gifts, of course. 130 dex and like 180 centimeters in height. And we are standing exactly at the flower. Let's look at it. Yeah, this is exactly the same. And now we're gonna try it out. I will start the timer soon. Oh man, this is going to be interesting. I mean, it's the same character, just the other height. And also the same speed on the UI. So this is going to be really interesting because they have on the UI the same maximum speed. Sure, you always have a margin of error of some degree, but maybe it's a noticeable difference. And no, it's also the same. It's really the same. But now we compare this to the Veela. It's just fascinating that exactly the timer ends exactly at the last frame of movement, like from the first Veela. But I think I at least have at least a little margin of error, but that is just wonderful, random, lucky. That on the last millisecond it's the same. That is awesome. But now we compare the same with the male Veela, of course. And let's see how that goes. I mean, that is the maximum speed without the Clade gifts, of course, everything without the Clade gifts. But I think if the UI is correct there, then maybe for the models it's also the same. So let's start here. Oh yeah, I'm already hyped for the final result. And I hope no guard will cross my way, because these tests took a lot of time, because I repeated every one of them to reduce the margin of error as much as possible. Okay, let's see, let's analyze this. Oh man. And yeah, the final result is, yeah, there's no difference at all. This is just margin of error. So I repeated this a few times and yeah, there's no difference. This is just margin of error. So myth busted. So I'm now part of the myth busters. So next we try the main build of the Thusar or whatever. I mean the main fighter build for 121 strength with the Clade gifts, of course. But yeah, all these tests of all characters are without the Clade gifts, without any Clade gifts. But all the skills are 100. So yeah, we try out this. This guy is 2 meters 16. So let's see how this goes. So we have 89 dex, which is just normal. Sure, it's a little bit low for a melee fighter. But yeah, hey, the Thusar can't get any more. So yeah. So let's see how fast it goes. The UI says 400 speed. Let's see if that is true. Oh, this is going to be interesting. You know, if you play a Veela and if you also play a Thusar with your second character or whatever, then you notice something. You are nearly as fast as in normal walking. With combat speed it's different, because in combat mode the speed gets modified and you actually run a lot faster. And we have a total time that reminds me of 9/11. So it's actually 1 second, but just a reminder, no Clade gifts. We compare this soon. And now we compare the human Kallard build. They are pretty good fighters like the Thusars. And they have the same speed on the UI. So with the same dex, 89. And let's see how this goes into perspective. I mean it's also for 100 and the same dex. I mean the speed difference between a Kallard and the Thusar are maybe not so much. But for example, for the very fast Veela, that 1 second, if you're in combat mode, you're even a little bit faster. In Mortal, everything don't seem like much of a difference, but all these little factors give you victory or loss. And we have our result, and that's actually pretty good. Compared to the others, I ran the test again and again, and I don't know if this is a margin of error. But we are not finished yet. Now we come to the humans, the human hybrids to be specific. And lol, he looks like Henrik. I just made him a little bit larger because it doesn't matter. And let's see how this goes. I'm really excited for that. So with 406 speed, I want to see a difference. At least a little one. Because 100 dex compared to 89 dex is actually a lot. But it's good that speed is no longer the king of combat. That is why we have such a huge variety today, instead of everyone playing just a speedy character. And that is a pretty good result actually. So yeah, this is notable. But we have some more to clarify. What is with fat mages? So we now make a fat mage. A fat mage normally has 135 intelligence and normally no dex skilled. It just depends if you are a mount only character or not. I just skilled here the dex because many people will do that maybe. So we have actually minus 40 dex or something like that. So we have 42 dex right now. So this is going to be very interesting. So maybe as a fat mage you get dismounted or something like that. Then yeah, of course you need to run. And now with this low max speed, it's going to be very interesting what comes out here. Because you're not all the time on a horse. So this is maybe important for you too. Oh man, yeah, I think this takes clearly longer than I thought. Oh man, this result is actually quite a lot. But yeah, in the margin of error it makes sense. So the speed curve is straight in a line. But more to that later, we have one final test to do. We create the same Veela from the beginning, which is also one of the best dex fighters ever and dagger fighters, but we will skill the Clade gifts here. So let's see how this is going, and I think you will be slightly faster because the UI tells you that it's faster, so yeah, it must be faster, I think. So all the Veela Clade gifts, the speed Clade gifts, actually gives you 6 speed on your normal walking speed. So your combat speed is even higher. Oh man, that is already pretty fast here. I feel like driving an expensive sports car. I never drove that, by the way. Oh man, that time is the world record. Holy moly. So compared to all the others, this is hardcore. So if you just want to compare the Veela speed, for example, so in conclusion, if you calculate that, it's about 2.2%. Please note, there's always a margin of error, but I think it is at least 2% and at maximum 2.5%. Sure, the Veela has very high dex here. Normal Veela builds have less. So just for comparison, the hybrid human build versus the Thusar. Then we have a steady 2% increase. But right now it's getting even more interesting. So we compare the Thusar speed versus the Veela speed. Sure, a normal Veela if it's not a dagger fighter or dex fighter, but just for comparison reasons, 400 to 429 are actually 8.5% around that area. So that means that even 10 speed on your max speed counter are about 2 to 3% in the margin of error of speed. So in conclusion, yeah, on the battlefield, speed matters. Mortal Online 1 has shown that. But here in Mortal Online 2, it's not the same. And it's actually getting better now. Because in Mortal Online 1, no one in their right mind would play something different between the more or less 2 meta builds or 3 meta builds. But right now in Mortal Online 2 we have our huge variety and opportunities of builds and stuff, and the Veela is still the fastest character. But your opinion on this matters. I collect all the data I get from comments and stuff, and someday I will make a huge post of all the annoying shit or all the stuff that maybe need a change, and maybe we all together can ask Henrik about that stuff. But before we roll the outro, here's my highly sophisticated dex curve. As you can see, it's in a straight line, which is the real thing. It's a straight line. Man, I have awesome paint skills here. Yeah, I think I don't have to say anything about this. So I really hope you found this video helpful. It took actually a lot of time to make this. So special thanks to my special Patreon supporters, Carmel and Don Dexter. And all the others, of course. So I really hope you enjoyed the video. Please leave a like, also subscribe. Always remember to make party hard, and see you next time. Goodbye.